We figured this is our first day for the Rich Eisen Show on Raiders Nation Radio, 9:20 a.m. in Vegas. We must have the man, the legend, Brent Musburger on the show, and he's kind enough to oblige. How are you, Brent Musburger?
Hi, Rich. Welcome to Raider Nation in Las Vegas, lad. Glad to have you on the best sports dial in the city.
I appreciate that, and I am thrilled to be had, Brent. So let's get right into it. Super Wild Card Weekend. The story of the weekend is what, in your estimation?
There were so many of them. Each game, I think, gave us a great story. But I think let's take the overview, is that the National Football League did an excellent job when they expanded the playoffs, and they brought us so much tremendous entertainment over a wild card weekend. I mean, I became a couch potato for 2 days, and certainly we can talk about winners and losers, and each team has got a story. But I think the overriding thing is it was good for the fans, Rich, and I think that's what you do. You're in the entertainment business, and I think the commissioner and the NFL office just did a great job. And now you look forward to the divisional weekend, which I've always thought was one of the most competitive and most entertaining. And we've got 4 tremendous games looking ahead to. So I just think the NFL did a great job by expanding the playoffs. I think that's the headline.
And then the fact, Brent, out of all of those games, that we've got teams that have waited a very long time to celebrate a win, have moved on. And that's headlined, one would say, by the GOAT, Tom Brady. How do you think the Bucs are fixed to try and upset the Saints this coming week and move on and get within one game of becoming the first team to ever play a game in their home stadium for the Super Bowl? How do you see that working, Brent?
It's up to the Bucs offensive line, Rich, as far as I'm concerned. If they keep the pocket clean, Tom Brady is throwing the ball like he's 10 years younger. But we all know that at the age of 43, when you're being harassed by the defensive front, it's very difficult to get your receivers into play. It just doesn't work. He's not like Josh Allen, who can quickly get to the outside and find a receiver downfield or run himself. Tom Brady's not a threat. So the Saints are going to try to keep him in that pocket and set sail after him. I think it comes down to that because Brady's got wonderful targets, throws a beautiful ball still, and I think it will be the aggression of that Saints front against the Bucs offensive line that will decide the game.
And so moving forward then, which defense do you think had the best weekend, Brent? Which one do you think out of all 6 winners has the best defense that could either overcome an offense that's points challenged or support an offense in a way that will make them unbeatable? Which one do you have there?
Well, first of all, I would say the Rams defense, but we cannot look past what was turned in last night by the Cleveland Browns. I'm not sure where that came from, but right from the beginning, somebody had covered a lot down at Florida, one of the Pouncey twins. He sailed that snap up over Roethlisberger's head, and then Ben and Connor weren't too sure who was going to try to jump on it. The one goes into the end zone, and a former safety of the Raiders, Carl Joseph, pounces on it, and the Browns were on their way, and they intercepted Roethlisberger 4 times. Now, I know that a couple of those passes, they were tipped, and so they might have fallen incomplete. They weren't really real clean interceptions, but you can't look past the job that they did, even when they backed way off and gave Roethlisberger a lot of, in front of him, room to move the ball down the field. They still came up big, I thought, when they had to. But if I had to pick a defense that's the best one left, I would look at the Rams. I thought that was perhaps the worst playoff game I've ever watched Russell Wilson play. And I think all credit goes to the Rams. And when we look at the front office, remember Jalen Ramsey, he'd become a bit of a problem child down in Florida. And they gave up a lot of draft capital to get him, but you've got a guy who can shut down an elite receiver. And we all know what that means going to next Saturday. That's going to be one of the great matchups of the divisional is to watch Ramsey go up against Adams and the Green Bay Packers. It'll be a tremendous duel. And the Rams defense, I guess the new coordinator, we didn't see them in person this year, but as I understand it, he changed some of the principles that they were playing by. They made some trades, and the Rams defense is the real deal.
The all-time great Brent Musburger, VSiN managing editor and also voice of the Las Vegas Raiders on Raiders Nation Radio 920 AM right here on an affiliate of the Rich Eisen Show, right here on a Monday after Super Wild Card weekend. The team that can potentially threaten the Chiefs the most, now that we know who are the three other remaining teams, including the Browns, who see them first, and then the winner of the Ravens and Titans. Who do you have as the team that's most dangerous for a Chiefs team that you've seen front and center twice? You could easily say the team that's given the Chiefs the hardest time this year were the Raiders. Brent, what do you got for me on that front?
Yeah, exactly. Well, the one thing that you have to do, you must do to beat the Chiefs, you've got to have a ball control offense. You have got to keep Patrick Mahomes on the sideline. That is your number one approach to beating the Chiefs. And to be honest with you, I look at the Baltimore Ravens as the biggest danger to them. They have a very good running game. That's no scoop with Jackson, obviously, but Dobbins, you get Ingram back healthy, they can control the clock a little bit. And what they did yesterday against Derrick Henry can't be the same defense that you use against the Chiefs, because the Chiefs are not going to try to run the ball down your throat as the Titans do with Derrick Henry. You need a different kind of a defense against him. You've got to at least keep Tyreek Hill in front of you as much as you can, and then you got to try to limit Travis Kelce. Nobody's going to be able to stop him. But I would give the Ravens, Rich, the best chance going forward. I'm not quite sold on the Bills' defense, and I just think that the Browns played the game of their life last night, and I'm not sure staying on the road that they can come back with that, because all you guys have to do, because you've talked about it, is look at what Coach Andy Reid does coming off a bye or a week off. I think the Chiefs are going to be very, very difficult to handle next Sunday, and I give the Ravens a very good chance to go in and beat the Bills. So I would nominate the Ravens as the biggest threat in the AFC to the Chiefs' reign.
Brent, before we move to the national championship game tonight and your 2 cents on that and who you like, who you don't like, news just broke during the first part of our conversation that Doug Pederson has been fired as the coach of the Philadelphia Eagles after all of that being what we saw with Wentz this year, and then too much of Wentz before finally turning to Hurts, and then not seeing enough Hurts on Sunday Night Football game 256. I'd love your first blush reaction to the news that just a couple of years after the Philly special and the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, that this guy is out. Your 2 cents on that.
You know, I thought late in the season that they pretty much had stood in support of Coach Pederson, but I think his handling of the quarterback situation probably infuriated the owner. He probably thought that once you make the move to Jalen Hurts and Carson Wentz is inactive, that even though Jalen was struggling throwing the ball, he had run for a couple of touchdowns in that game against Washington. And I'm guessing that even some of the Philly fans came down on Coach. And remember that when Coach won the Super Bowl, he had Frank Reich in there helping call plays, and some other assistants have moved on, and his defensive coordinator Schwartz has said he's going to take a year off. So I think all of those things added up. I'm not completely shocked, a little bit surprised, but all in all, not shocked, Rich.
And unbelievably, Brent, because he was hired on the first of the year in 2020, before Joe Judge and Mike McCarthy got their jobs with the Giants and the Cowboys, respectively. Ron Rivera is now the most tenured head coach in the NFC East with the Washington football team. Brent, isn't it amazing how things work?
How about that? It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable, Rich, how that wheel goes around. And, gosh, what a great gentleman Coach Rivera is, battling cancer and still making it to all the games and standing on the sidelines, a class guy. And the performance that he got out of quarterback Heineke, full disclosure, I cover college football for years and follow it even to this day.
Of course.
I never even heard of Heineke coming out of Old Dominion. Okay, and the little rascal played his heart out, made that diving touchdown.
Unbelievable.
And I guess if it shows anything, going to Coach Rivera, is when you want your backup or your third string quarterback, don't look at the ballyhooed guys from the big programs who go 6'1", 6'4", whatever. Go look at those little rascals from the small school that can move around a little bit for you. And maybe that the scouts overlook when it comes to the combine because they're not invited. And so maybe those are the guys who should be the third-string quarterbacks around the NFL.
This is the dulcet tones of the great Brent Musburger here on the Rich Eisen Show on the day where the national championship will go down and there will be a new college football champion crowned from the Ohio State University or from Alabama. Who do you have? How do you see this game playing out tonight?
You know, Rich, if you go back and see before the season started, I love the Crimson Tide of Alabama. They were plus 450 here in Las Vegas, meaning that if you put up 100, you could win 450. And so a lot of my friends took a position at that time. However, I want to say that I haven't seen a team with a few games improve as much as I thought Ohio State improved. Now, Coach Sweeney at Clemson, of course, fired them up by ranking them 11th in the coaches poll. So they had, they wanted to take on Clemson, and they beat them up pretty good. Tonight, the Crimson Tide here in Las Vegas are an 8-point favorite. The biggest bet on the Tide on a game-to-game basis has always been the first half. They're a 5-point favorite in the first half. The bookies always shaded a little bit because they know the popularity of that bet, and that's because Coach Saban usually so far ahead doesn't run the score up in the fourth quarter, and teams get what we call the backdoor cover. I think it's going to be a very competitive championship game, and if Fields plays as well as he can, the Buckeyes can push this into the fourth quarter. However, no team recruits nationally like Alabama. When I was growing up, Rich, before your time, the national team was Notre Dame. Eric Parsegan went coast to coast. They had fans in California. They had fans in New Jersey, and he would recruit the top prospects. They were the only school. But now, since the explosion of television and every team is seen week in and week out, Coach Saban knew that he could recruit coast to coast. He's got players on that team tonight from all of the southern states, but also California, Pennsylvania, Kentucky, Ohio. They're a national power, and I respect so much because the key to winning college football championships is recruiting, and no one recruits as well as Coach Saban has done. You got to remember that before Tua went to the NFL and the Dolphins this year, he still had a year of eligibility. He could be the Tide quarterback tonight. That's how well a couple of years back they recruited. So I'm going to stick on the Alabama bandwagon.
Before I let you go, Brent, what's the worst beat you've had all year in football? Ooh. What's the worst beat you suffered, Brent?
Well, it's always the most recent, Rich. And last night when Pouncey snapped that ball, I had teased the Steelers down to a pick'em. Okay, all I had to do was win the game, and that was recovered for a touchdown. And at the end of the first 15 minutes, I was looking at a 28-0 deficit. I said to Arlene, maybe I should lay this off at halftime. You know what I mean, Rich? So my teaser went up in flames last night. But congratulations to Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. They deserve it. They played very well. And a little memo to my buddy Baker. Just keep turning that baseball cap around, buddy. No problem there.
I bet. And hey, did you see the shot on Saturday night of Brady and George Blanda next to each other at the same age, and Brady looking like
Arlene said they're not the same age.
Right?
Blanda was an old buddy of mine.
Yeah, I bet.
In Chicago. Okay.
Yeah.
And he was a hard-living, poker-playing son of a gun. There was nobody who enjoyed the the Rush Street nightlife any more than George Blanda. I've spent many a night with him. We just both laughed because Tom Brady looked 20 years younger than George. Right. Okay, there was no doubt about it, Rich.
There was no GB16 wellness program. He wasn't eating avocado ice cream back in the day, right?
No, he did. He wasn't into those. You couldn't get George. You couldn't get George even to think about programs like that. Not my old buddy from Chicago. Oh, what a great guy he was! What a great run he had playing quarterback and kicking field goals down in Houston and later for the Raiders. Oh, he was amazing, George was.
Hey, Brent, thanks for the time. I had to get you on after one of the biggest football weekends, big football night tonight, college, and obviously now that we're on Raiders Nation Radio as a show, you were a no-brainer, and I can't thank you enough when you come on the show. It's a delight every time for me. Thank you.
I love it. Thanks, Rich. Happy New Year, lad. Talk to you soon.
Same to
Bye-bye.
you. That's Brent Musburger, everybody.
The best.
Hey, you watched all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Watch more right here.